Autumn has finally arrived here in Ireland. Leaves on the ground, trees up there all brown. It's that time of the year where it all kind of quietens down. Listen, you want to get something cozy by the fire. Well, this is cozy because this is a 2-litre diesel hybrid. PHEV, so plug-in as well. You can do about 50 kilometers on the tank of electricity, but you can do 1,000 kilometers on the tank of the diesel. The diesel, oh, we love the diesel at times. But this is one of the best cars one of the oldest car companies has ever made. Mercedes-Benz, one of the oldest car companies on earth, has now created one of the best cars I've driven this year. Not because it's great to handle or great to drive, just because it is so luxurious inside. Really is worth having a good look at. So we're going to review it right now. So hit the subscribe button while I get my little camera. You can watch the tree drop all its leaves all over the ground. So right, side-on view here, it looks like an E Class. Looks like a Mercedes. Could actually be an S Class. Little swirl on the ground there from the leaves. This is an elegant exterior. The only thing that separates it from any other E Class is the fact that it has EQ power written on the side of it, because it's part of the EQ range that Mercedes is bringing out. And EQ is going to be vitally important. #1 selling car in Germany a couple of months ago was all EQ powered from Mercedes. So they're doing really well on the electric car front. There is a full electric car range coming from Mercedes as well. But the rest of the car is actually quite staid exterior. I mean, it's very subtle, really. When you look down the side, there's not really remarkable lines. From the inside, you can see these two bulges. You see these bulges, this one and this one on the bonnet? From the inside, you can see that when you're driving along, and it's actually gorgeous, it's lovely. I do miss the stand-up Mercedes logo, the 3-pointed star. It really did make it. The front is definitely my taste. I like this, very sexy. You'll notice that there's no lights on the bottom half here, nothing down here at all, just parking sensors and some fins. And then you have the LED system here from Mercedes-Benz, which lights up slightly blue on the side, actually, funny enough. And nice alloys down on the back, down on the side of it here. And then on this side, right here, you have the diesel tank, which is here with AdBlue. But here on the back, which is filthy because I've been driving it, is the charge point. Look, that's the electric charge point. Type 2 only, charges up in a couple of hours from my 7.5 kilowatt. Nice place for it, isn't it? And the reason why it's nice on the back is because you can reverse into the parking space to charge up. Instead of going nose in or side in or having a charge point on the side of the car, then you're kind of screwed when the cable is kind of short on any of the other systems. So much nicer to have it on the back of the car like that. It's tidy too. You notice on the back it says E300DE. Just make sure it's German. The boot is electric, kind of, springs open. This is the letdown. This is the big letdown. So you see in here, there's where the batteries are. See this step, this massive step here? That's where the batteries are. This is the letdown. You lose a lot of boot space because the batteries are in the boot. That's a shame. I really thought Mercedes would have that nailed by now. The boot is actually okay. As you can see, my bag is in here. There is room for stuff in here, but it very quickly fills up because the boot space in here is very compromised by this big shelf where the batteries are. I really thought Mercedes would have that nailed a bit better than they have in the boot. It doesn't really bother me for the drive. It's not that kind of car. I think they could have done that better. It could have been pushed under the floor. But let's have a look on the inside and you'll see where the good stuff really begins with Mercedes. So the inside is where it really comes to life. Listen, that's just a reassuring bump as it closes. Now, if you look at the dashboard here, it actually comes up with this massive EQ logo straight away, and you see it comes on a little power yoke, and it says how long it's going to be charging for. If it was charging here, they'll tell you to be charged, fully charged at a certain time. If I actually start it up, you'll see that it is fully charged, or nearly fully charged, not far off. 27 kilometers, there was 3/4 of a tank. And then the diesel tank will get me another 857 kilometers. So it's a bit relaxed Lauren Laverne. It's a bit mental in that respect, but there is some changes in here that I'm not quite keen on, Mercedes. These have changed. These buttons have changed from other Mercedes that I've driven in recent times. They're more plasticky feel. They do feel very plasticky, these ones. And the volume control is a pain in the hole to use. As you sweep your finger up and down, you don't press. If you press, you mute. Anyway, and on this side then is active or cruise control. There is no active cruise control in this, which is also surprising considering the price tag of 75,000 euros. I don't get active cruise control in this, so that is not making me very happy. But that is quite common. I've seen BMWs do the same thing where they cut away those kind of ancillary stuff to make the car PHEV affordable. Now, my average fuel consumption in this car since I've got it has been 3.9 litres per 100 kilometres. That not efficient? And 857, that said 975 kilometres when I got it first. This charge up, having to charge it the whole time, that's par for the course, unfortunately, PHEV. So this is the infotainment system as Mercedes have it. This is a full touch screen, so you can touch it if you want to touch things up on the screen like this. You can do all that, but you can also run it from a little feedback thing here, which gives you a little haptic clicks every time you touch them. And it's quite nice, it's very good. In this little tray here, this is a wireless charging tray, but they've also put in USB-C port in here and 2 cup holders. The problem with the cup holders is they're right in front of the phone. So when you're getting out of the car, if you've got cups in here, you can't get your phone out, okay? So I think that was pretty badly thought out, that one, in fairness, in there. The second you put 2 cups in here, whatever's in that front charging tray is now trapped in there. So when you finish your journey, you've got to take the cups out of the way, then you take your phone out. Back here you have the dynamic controls. You've also got manual controls for a lot of stuff here, so when you want to go into map or whatever, it comes up on the screen in a manual button press. Radio media is there as well. The air conditioning controls are all physical buttons, every one of them. These little vent controls up here are quite nice. But up here on the screen, then if you want to actually change the temperature of the car, you do it on a physical button, but it shows it electronically up here. So physical 1, 2, and physical up, down, and that's pretty much how that works. Really good and straightforward. This blue tinted light here is totally adjustable within the menu system. So if I go home, and you see if I go over here to ambient lighting, I can go in to change the colour. Then I get a colour wheel over here, which I can infinitely adjust to whatever colour I want. And once I settle on it, so if I want a red colour, it goes red here, you can see it. And it's all around the car, so it's actually in the back seats, front seats, everywhere if you want it, right? You have welcome lights and so on. There's tons of adaptations in this system here that allows you to be able to change all kinds of things. EQ stuff allows you to be able to change your departure time, your consumption, energy flow, and so on. There's so much stuff in here to get messed with. You can change all your flows. You know, the flow has gone as 73%, where it's coming as passive flow. You can have the vehicle settings. Now, I can't find a setting. I noticed in Passat, or Volkswagen Group, what I was able to do was press a button that would allow the spare capacity of the engine to charge the battery while I was driving. And I don't see that in this. I can't do it in this. Or at least I can't find a setting. Maybe I'm not able to find it because I'm not looking in the right place. But I've routed through every one of these lists here to try and find what I'm after, and I just cannot find the setting to do that, to be able to change how the car, whether the car charges from the engine or not. It doesn't want to. It just stays there. But you can also download apps, and the store allows you to turn things on and off inside the car as well. So you all kinds of stuff. This is really good, and each one of these things is a button as well. So you can press things like that to change your POIs and filling stations and so on. Very, very clever Mercedes. I actually prefer that system to Apple CarPlay. That's saying a lot. I normally prefer Apple CarPlay over everything, but that's actually better than Apple CarPlay. And so I haven't hooked it up. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is actually there, not wireless version, but wired version is there, but I prefer that system. Moving back, you've got this huge tray in here for holding stuff, and you've actually got 2 USB ports inside of that, and that is your lot. The seats are spectacularly comfortable, and the car just cushions out the whole road. It's an amazing car, absolutely amazing. I'm going to check the back seat now, and then we're going to go for a spin. Come on, let's do it. So, back seat, of course, it's a Mercedes E Class. I have gallons of room to sit back here, no bother. Big door, big thud. The light, when it's on, actually comes on around here as well. The car is actually turned off. Now, I don't get any controls over to temperature control, but I can turn on and off the vents. And there is 2 USB ports and a 12-volt socket back here, which is contained where the ashtray used to be. And I have map pockets on the back of both the seats. You probably won't, weirdly, fit 3 people in here too easy. It's quite narrow. This little bolster in the middle here is quite narrow, along with the leaf has just entered the car too. And then this is a cup holders are built into this in a very complicated sort of way. You press the front and they pop out. They're really complicated, Mercedes. That's unnecessarily complicated, can I say. And then you have this little document tray in here. There's no load through, none of that. So that is abandoned. Get out, leaf. No freeloaders. The seats don't fold down as far as I can find. I just can't find an area for them to fold down, so they don't seem to do anything. And anyway, there's a massive battery behind those seats, so it'd be no good to you anyway. Right, let's go for a drive. Now I do find the haptic feedback tray thing here is very sensitive. Like brushing a cable against it is enough to trigger off a movement on it, which is kind of weird. Now as you can see, I've just pulled away from the parking spot there, and I'm using all electricity. I am all electric. It's very pleasant. It's such a nice thing to drive along on that kind of electric feel, especially the car this size, because it's quite a big car. It's quite a large car. It doesn't really feel that large on the road. What I do love though is following those two humps in the bonnet, which make it feel more luxurious. For some reason I can see the bonnet length and it's just very pleasant. Now the car does feel heavy, make no mistake. Electric cars or any of these kind of electric units feel quite heavy on the road, but you can't do a whole lot about that, unfortunately, because batteries are heavy, and that's really it. That is the only problem. Batteries are heavy anyway. Pootling around through Portlaoise here is quite nice. It's a bit grey and drizzly and it's a bit stormy today. It feels like autumn coming now, which can be very difficult for people's mental health to deal with this, because at this time of the year you get a thing called seasonal affective disorder, which is SAD. It's called SAD, which makes you feel a little bit more down because you're not getting enough vitamin D and enough intake of vitamin D. So you get vitamin D, your body uses the sun to convert a calcium-rich environment into vitamin D. But vitamin D is vital for your mood stability. So if there's any chance of daylight at the moment, get out in it. Don't be hanging around the house, especially if you're locking down around that. Get outside, go for a walk, even in the rain. It doesn't matter, it won't do you any harm. You'll dry off, I promise. Anyway, as you can see, I am moving along through the town without having to use any diesel at all. Now that will eventually of course run out. I've only got 24 kilometers of range left according to the rangeometer thing there, the guessometer some people call that, but the thing that actually tells you how far you have to go. The car will continue in this mode, in comfort mode and eco mode. It will continue using that electricity to drive the car up to kind of 60 to 80 kilometers an hour. Then the diesel engine will cut in along with it, and the two will combine to create power. And then out in the motorway, it'll use the diesel and the electric combined until it runs out of electricity. Then it's a hybrid. Then it'll just cut it in and out as it needs to. Very efficient. I really do wish there was more controls here over the car itself, whether it was charging or discharging. I know I can go into a mode here where I can go into what they call battery level. And what battery level does is maintain the current battery level of the car. So whatever's left there now, it'll cut in the diesel engine now and it's going to take off from anywhere. Still use a bit of electricity, but then it cuts in the diesel. That's the diesel running now. You can hear it there. It's cold because it hasn't been running all morning. So the diesel engine is a bit cold right now, but that's battery level. So that will cut in the diesel engine to maintain what you've got in electricity, but it's not charging the car, which is a bit of a disappointment. I really did think I would be able to sacrifice some diesel for a little bit more electricity, knowing that I'm going to a city later on, or knowing that I'm going to a larger town where I want to go on pure electricity over there. But also in these settings is other ones like Eco, which allows the car to try and be as ecological as it possibly can be while running. You know, it's trying to maintain as little diesel work as possible as running off electricity. Just use the diesel engine when it has to, which seems to be the same as comfort, but what it's doing is turning off the air conditioning unit as well. So the battery, when it's running, controls air conditioning and lighting and all that sort of stuff inside the car, as well as drive the engine. So it's actually quite efficient in that respect. So Eco is the last one. Then we have pure electric, so you can run in just electric. It will not cut in the diesel engine or anything. Comfort, which is the one I like the most. and then you have sport and individual and so on. Sport sharpens up the throttle response, weights up the steering a little bit, doesn't really do a whole lot, not going to give you a whole lot more horsepower. Comfort is the one that I actually quite like putting around in. It's really pleasant. As a drive experience, the damping in this, suspension system in this, is second to none. It is absolutely tomb quiet in here. It just wafts along the road. It's the best description for this car ever. I don't hear other traffic. I can hear some tire noises here and there, but I don't really hear any of that traffic out in front of me. And when you want power, it combines the two engines, the two motors together. So you put your foot down, and on it comes. There's a great surge of power out of it as it gets up to speed, and then suddenly you're at motorway speeds. It's fabulous. Now, it doesn't have active cruise controls, it just has cruise control, so I can set it to, I've done that by mistake, I hit reset values for some reason, I don't know why that is. You set by scrolling your finger up along, which is really aggravating in Mercedes. These buttons on the steering wheel feel cheaper than the last buttons were on the steering wheel, which felt much nicer. Maybe they're a specable option, maybe there's a different option there. But this is motorway speeds, and as you can see, I'm barely above whisper here. It really is just wafty. Double glazing and things like that. It's just very, very nice. The best of these luxury long-range vehicles. Plus, it's a PHEV, plus it's a diesel. Not active cruise control, so it's not even bothering to slow down for that truck in front of me. It's just like, go on, go on. I love the colours of the trees along here. It's a beautiful section of the motorway. I would have no issue whatsoever in driving from here to Timbuktu and then realising I've forgotten my sunglasses. I may go back and get them again. It's just so comfortable. If I didn't have to drive another car for the rest of my life and I got stuck with this one, I wouldn't be even remotely disappointed. It is an amazing vehicle. It's expensive. That's €75,000 is not cheap for a Mercedes E Class, whether PHEV or not, but it is a diesel machine, so you'll be able to claim your VAT back on the diesel. It's very economical. 1,000 kilometers out of one tank is no problem to this car. Runs at about 4 litres per 100 kilometers under normal circumstances. That's motorway driving. If you're driving around a town, it's zero. It just sits at nothing. It's a plug-in, so plug it in and use it every day as an electric car. It runs fine. This relentless idea that everything has to be electric doesn't necessarily have to be electric. Look at this thing. It's an amazing vehicle. Huge range, and it's not petrol, so it's cheaper to run. I love this car. There's nothing really I would change apart from the price. The kit level, active cruise control would be a thing I'd really like on this car. The seats are good. I don't really have a complaint about anything else. Everything else is just fine for me. I'm very happy with it. Now it's actually time to go and swap the car, but you can find me on TikTok, you can find me on YouTube, here on YouTube of course, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram. I don't use Twitter and Facebook a whole lot much anymore because, well, it's just a bad place. Social media is bad for your brain most of the time, and those two places will just make you think the world is ending. I prefer the rest of them. But you can find me in all those places. DM me if you want something. You can also find me now on Twitch. So Bob Flavin on Twitch as well. I do stream video games, so Warzone, and I will get around to other ones as well along the way. We might do some driving games as well, although I don't have a steering wheel, so I'll have to work that out. But you can find me in all those places. It's a really good thing to have you along. I hope you hit the subscribe button. If you want to support the channel, there's multiple links down below, including Noah, if you want to get some news for yourself. News over audio, it's called. A bit like Audible, but reading out the news for you in trusted sources, on top of the Washington Post, the Irish Times, the Independent, and so on across the board, all those places. And they read it out, and I'm getting you a 50% discount from Noah, which will allow you to be able to sign up for €60 a year. It's normally 120. So 60 quid a year is good for a whole year's worth of content, and I get a cut out of that, so you're actually supporting the channel by using that affiliate link. It's really good. Also, there's one on there for Coinbase, if you want to do that. If you're opening a Coinbase account for Bitcoin, if you're moving it around the place, why not get a free tenner out of it? I found a little link on a Coinbase thing where we both get a tenner. That's quite nice, isn't it? And you don't have to do anything, just open up a Coinbase account and we both get a tenner out of it. It's like free money. Weird, isn't it? But it's true. Other than that, that's pretty much it. You can go PayPal, Patreon, or Super Chats, or channel memberships and all them sort of things. You want to actually physically look after the channel. There's an awful lot to get through at the end of these things now, isn't there? Anyway, that's that big mouthful over. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, I will see you on the far side. Truck has fog lamps on for some strange reason. Oh, there's two trucks. Wow. Oh no, he's braking. That wasn't fog lamps, he was actually hitting the brakes. That's a Mercedes R Class. That's about as rare as it gets on the road, beside a Honda Accord, which is also quite rare these days. But Mercedes R Class. Whoa. That was an ugly duckling, but I have a high desire for them these days because they're just huge. The size of the thing, like, it's massive. And it's 4MATIC as well. Watch his money burn. You might as well just throw the money out the window, like.